So today, I'm really excited to introduce our next guest. He's from Westridge. He's going to be touching on a topic that's near and dear to a lot of us business owners. Thanks for joining us, Kyle.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me.
So, Kyle, I know the benefit side is a topic that is really important. I mean, labor is an important asset at the end of the day. Just wondering if you can provide us with some of the things that have emerged since COVID, and also give us an overview of what specifically you and your company do.
Yeah, so since COVID, obviously no one going into 2020 planning to have this kind of impact, but it's gone through waves and phases with the essential and non-essential items opening and closing. At the beginning, I think one of the biggest concerns was if your plan had out-of-country coverage. So if your employees were out of the country and they're not returning yet, or if they're allowed to travel, and that was before the border restrictions were really in place. So it's really our main focus has been, keeping in constant contact with our current, consumers and clients, and also just contacting with the carriers and going back and forth with all the information. I'd say the first couple of weeks, it was definitely every couple hours there'd be something updated, and with Westridge, we're a full broker, so we represent all carriers in the market. And different carriers responded at different times and have different implications towards the COVID situation.
Right, and has it really varied between size of company? Like I know you represent some smaller companies, but also some very large companies. Has the needs been any different, given the COVID or?
Yeah, it really comes down to, again, the plan design is a big portion of we're a consulting firm, right? So that's one of our number one routines, is going there and design a plan. And without going into too much detail, but if you have something called like a non-refund fully insured plan, there is a lot different kind of premium offsets and funding than if you had an ASO surely in fund. So it all depends, how your plan is set up. And again, back to your point, we have a variety of businesses from large to small and all different industries, from hospitality, manufacturing, construction, you name it. We've really been involved with it, which also helps to we're able to look at the market as a whole and compare all the options out there.
Right. Just going through the slides here. I know you've been in the industry for some time. Can you tell us a little bit more about what size companies you work with, and what are some of the specializations that you bring to the table?
Absolutely. So the Westridge Group itself has been around for over 14 years. And the benefit side is one of the newest divisions. We're going over just 2 years now. But myself, my background, I come from a large consulting houses in Ontario. So I actually was doing my MBA at Niagara University, as I am from St. Catharines area. And in my last semester, I was recruited to a very large consulting firm in my early days. So it was great because we worked with, small, medium, and some very large clients. So it gave me the whole perspective of different consulting kind of theories. And along the way as well, I've continued education by getting my CEBS designation, which is the Certified Employee Benefits Specialist. And that was able to provide even more expertise to, I'd say, more of the medium and large size clients, but also trickles down to the smaller clients as well. Being in Niagara, we service a large majority of our clients here, but we have good kind of share in Kitchener, Burlington, Oakville, Ottawa. We have a good spread.
Right. No, that's good to hear. I'm just curious too, like from an industry standpoint, I know there's a large shift toward online self-serve and this sort of thing. What are you seeing in insurance in general?
Yeah, so insurance, fully transparent, it's really lacked in technology, which has almost been a frustration for me in the last couple of years. But we have really caught up, and if you do want to look at some positives of COVID, is insurance carriers were put pressure on to use technology, right? From something as simple as claim submissions to enrollments to updates. The carriers always kind of had platforms, but never pushed them too far ahead. Right. Where now you can, they're really pushing their app, so you can log in as an employee and look at what your claims are, submit claims, where your close practitioner is, and it goes as far as some virtual healthcare that I know we'll talk about a little bit. But yeah, the technology aspect's been great behind it, but it actually just provides support because the broker behind the scenes still is looking at the plan design, the claims, the renewals, the support from all around.
Right. So the value at the end of the day of having, someone, a broker, or someone manage your file is important. I know that you talked to me previously about customizations, but at the end of the day, there's technology advancements which are important. But would you say the plan design is really the critical piece?
Absolutely. Yeah. You need to have the sustainability and kind of structure of the plan, because unfortunately, if not, then the plan can lapse, or the liabilities are massive as well. You may think you have one coverage when you have something completely different and a massive claim comes through. And, the reality of high cost drugs nowadays, medications can be in the 80 plus thousands of dollars, where if you're a small, medium, even large employer, that is a huge hit to the plan. And if you're not properly equipped to have stop loss or different insurance products there to protect you, it can lead to actually crippling of a plan, where it may not even be affordable anymore to offer, or you're put in a situation where you have to reduce the plan, all based off of things that could have been, kind of forecasted for you.
Right. No, that's a good point. So I know we've talked a little bit about Westbridge, but I know you guys have various different service offerings. Can you just speak to us about your partners and the different services you bring to the table?
Absolutely. So the Westridge Group, again, has been around for 13 years now. And we actually started the majority of hospitality on the human resource side. So we have a very, very strong human resource consulting firm that works with small, medium, and even some large companies across the board to support their HR needs, whether it's being in HR, in-house HR, or being just an extension of their management team. And from there, we also have a health and safety division, a recruiting division that is very strong, and a training. My personal day-to-day, my partners take care of that side. My personal day-to-day would be on the employee benefit and retirement side. So Westridge Benefits, again, we opened up around 2.5 years ago as an extension of Westridge Group, and we're a full broker. So what that allows us to do is, as you can see on the slide, is we represent all the insurance carriers on the market. So we're able to sit down with business owners and clients and, either review the plan they have, and I can give feedback on, some errors or lapses that I'd be aware of. We can always, shop the market, but it comes down to, we have the solutions for every client out there.
Right. That's great. So you guys are full service at the end of the day.
Yeah, full service and very focused on being an extension of our client's business, right? We really like to work together. It's the benefit side is more than, obviously there's the obvious health insurance side, but it really is an extension of your culture, extension of your offering, a huge recruitment tool. So it leads into many, many business practices, which is, a part of it I really do enjoy, coming from the business background in the education system, and my years in the business. It's always rewarding to sit down with the business owner and go over what you really want this benefit plan to be there for, right? It's one thing to have a plan. It's one thing to know what it covers, be proud of it, include it in your recruiting pieces, include it in your seminars, and have employees truly, value it.
Right. One of the things that we're seeing in M&A is people are becoming more and more cognizant of examining the various plans during due diligence. So if you're a buyer, you're looking to buy a company, people are pretty dialed into the plans that are currently in place. Is that something that you guys could assist with, looking at existing plans, looking at whether or not, they meet the industry norms and that sort of thing?
Yeah, benchmarking is such a great tool, and I know you use it on the sales side as well. But we're able to pull, again, by both reviewing the plans you have in force and benchmarking to your industry. And with our experience, it's I can take a couple hours just review the actual benefit booklet and let you know where there may be some lapses on drug coverages or co-insurances or paramedicals. Again, on the financial side, there's a lot of detail, and then we can also compare it to, like you said, the whole industry itself by benchmarking it. Another common theme I find when companies are either growing or looking to sell their company is sometimes they have different divisions they've acquired that may be with different carriers, and they're not able to use their purchasing power of their total premium to their full capability. So we've had clients before where over the years they've purchased other entities, and we can come in there and redesign the plan and kind of put it as a one platform, which also helps the business owner understand better of what the employees have, what the cost breakdown looks like, why different renewals, and make it more seamless.
Right. No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, another topic to touch on in the M&A space is really client retention. And I know some of the smaller companies that we've worked with may not have a benefits plan in place. And oftentimes what we hear buyers say is, what can I do to ensure people will remain with me, employees? And one of the things we've seen work really well is putting a benefit plan in place. And oftentimes people are surprised how inexpensive they really are when you think about the cost of, recruiting and losing key employees.
Yeah, absolutely. The attraction retention piece is so critical on the benefit side. And there's multiple studies done, and the stats always change. But the one stat that always stays evident is most people would rather take a benefit plan than a small raise, right? Because they again, back to depending on the type of family coverage you have, or just as employers get a little bit older, they start to value the plan at a higher level. Right. But something that's great about the industry as well is it evolved to, if you're a small tech company right now, a very popular item would be like a healthcare spending account. Because normally you're employing a younger demographic who may not say, the drug claims are low, they don't use some of the features that they should value, but you can customize something that will still attract them. So it can be a higher, a healthcare spending account that can go towards vision, towards more chiro, towards more massage, where it's a flexible option for them.
Right. Just to put you on the spot, for small businesses, is there a norm in terms of price tag per employee that would be the entry rate, or is it hard to say what it would be based on the industry?
Yeah, it's hard. The industry is definitely one indicator, but the plan design, I feel like we keep going back to it, but is a huge determiner of the costs. You can, if you want the Cadillac of all Cadillacs, it can be, one way to the other. So really the best option normally is, and especially if it's a new plan, is again, sitting down with that business owner and running different illustrations. So showing them what this would cost, and being able to broker it, we have the best pricing out there, and it allows them to make the decision which, is most financially stable for them, and also they see the value in.
Right. Oh, it makes a lot of sense. And I know you touched on some of the services. Are there any of the services that you provide that you would say are underutilized by business owners?
Yeah, I really think that plan implementation, business owners get a little bit strung up on, because it all depends on the consulting house or firm that you use. So a lot of times the plan design, people put a lot of thought behind and do a lot of research, and then it's a great product, but when it comes down to implementing it, they don't do the lunch and learns, or the employees aren't sure what's covered, or maybe you get hired on during a time where the plan's already been explained once, but you're still a new individual. So I find business owners really value having that relationship with the broker to say, can we work on an onboarding package? Can we work on something for the employees to know what they're getting? Because I'm spending my hard-earned dollars by employees saying, well, maybe they don't see what they're actually getting. So I think showing the value of the plan to the actual consumer/employee is an underutilized tool as well. And back to the point too, not using technology to your advantage, right? It saves time for claim submission. I think you and I discussed before where if you went for a massage, you'd have to fill out the paperwork and then send it up, and 5 to 10 days later, they reply. Where now you can actually go and just take a picture of your claim, go on whatever app you have, Canada Life, Manulife, etc., and within 24 hours, your bank account has that money back. So wow. It's quite a powerful tool.
Right. Absolutely.
And then the technology I'm sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it's definitely a perk for an employee when they get their money really quickly, and it's seamless. It's easy to do. Exactly.
It also takes time away. It frees up time for their HR team as well, right? Because their HR team is very busy on doing the day-to-day of the operations, but there's, an employee comes and says, my dental claim, how do I submit this? Or how do I submit this? Or what's my coverage left? To say, go on the app and log in, it creates just a whole freedom of time for everybody.
Right. So here's a question that we get periodically. How often should someone hear from you? And I guess if you can walk us through what the typical touch points are and the areas where you can assist people. I know you kind of laid it out in the slide, but oftentimes we hear from individuals, listen, I see my person once a year, I sign the paperwork for the renewal, and then we wait to see them another, in another 12 months or so. What would you say is kind of industry best practices, or what should a business owner expect at the end of the day?
Yeah, it comes down to two aspects of it. I think it all depends on the client relationship being very transparent about it. So I'd say at least semi-annually, and then obviously annually at renewal. So 2 solid touch points of, reviewing which claims have been submitted, where the plan stands, because if you're able to, judge it over the time before the renewal, you can make changes for implementation that, may have a better result for you. But I do have groups and clients that want to reach out quarterly. So it really comes down to like conversation of, hey, Jim, as a business owner, you and I want to discuss, and I know you're very involved in your plan. Let's set up a time quarterly. And then maybe after the quarter report, it's just a phone call and just a touch point. But you may say, okay, well, maybe when you review it, if something big comes up, please reach out. And then at every 6 months, semi-annually, we'll meet face-to-face. And then, of course, annually, we'll do the full review. So it's definitely, a couple times throughout the year. And I'm a big person of, we can use, Zoom now, but face-to-face. Because unfortunately, the industry has fallen where some advisors just kind of mail out their renewal and they sign off, or it's a quick call and they don't really understand where the price increase is coming from, or there's possible more savings left on the table that they're not being negotiated for. Because a big part of having a broker is we're an extension of you. So we're there to talk to insurance carriers, make sure everything's being delivered fairly, and get you the best price possible.
In terms of fit, I know this is always a big question too. Is you want to make sure that you find a company that has the right service offering and can take care of your needs. So walk us through in terms of business owners assessing fit. What should they look for? In a provider?
Yeah, so in a provider, you obviously it's the similar analogy of it's the first meeting is almost like a first date, right? So you want to make sure you connect well and you both value and respect each other's business. You want to make sure that you're both in the same parallel of you have the right accreditations, the right knowledge, the right scope of business. You want to see a good track record. So again, some of the designations, maybe the CEBS, the GBA, RPA, there's an affiliation of it. And you want to see a proven track record of in the business. And normally owners do like dealing with owners as well, which is a benefit of dealing with, the Westridges. Obviously, I'm an owner myself, so I understand the needs. But yeah, just being honest about, how people connect, because the relationship side is very important in our industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of carriers, I know you guys work with folks across the board, and you're looking at the best providers at the end of the day. Is there anything, that has really come to the forefront, in terms of carriers, in terms of some of the companies offering reductions due to COVID?
Yeah, so each carrier, I personally believe they're doing a very good job considering, right? Because it does make sense with the dental offices being closed, with it's harder to get your paramedical services. There are portions of your benefits that you're restricted to not using, right? So premium reduction has been a very kind of talked about subject, and a lot of the carriers have backdated to April 1st. And a side note too, if anyone watching wants to see a full breakdown, because each carrier is doing it a little bit differently. But on average, an example would be, carriers are doing 50% off premium of dental for the first couple months, and they're assessing it month by month. And then other carriers are doing 20% off parameds as well, just making it more cost effective, because they realize that it's, your business may be shut down altogether, and it's a cost that, it's very high now, or just you're not being able to utilize it. So they are rationalizing that way. And again, what I do recommend is talking to your broker or looking up who your carrier is. And they're normally publicized on like, for instance, Canada Life's website or Sun Life's website. They've done a great job of informing their clients what savings are out there. And another great thing is a lot of them are automatically applied to the group, which is great as well.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if folks have to actually apply for the discount, or if they're just automatically reflected in the premium that they're paying.
Yeah, with the premium reduction, it's kind of self-automated. Where you want to reach out and talk to you in detail is temporary layoffs. So what if you are temporarily laying staff off, what extension of benefits are you able to provide on, disability side is one that's going kind of changing right now with some extensions, and just exactly details of your plan. And another huge one is deferred renewals. So you do need to get involved with your broker. If, say, for instance, you were supposed to renew on June 1, they do have the ability with some carriers to push it back a month or 2 months, right? To give that business owner the relief of, not having to worry about reviewing that, or if there's a big increase coming, just giving them more time to focus on getting their business back up and running. So again, regardless, I'd say reach out to your broker, because there's so many different elements. And then claim submissions as well, back to our online technology is if you're not already set up, or if you need a webinar on how to use your online technology, that's something that, I've been actively doing as well.
Right. Do you think that there'll be any long-term effects due to COVID? Maybe different things put into the insurance plan, different coverage, maybe, I know mental health has been a buzzword through COVID. Are they rebalancing the packages, or do you see any changes as a result of this?
Yeah, it's definitely obviously in the early stages. That is, you nailed it. It's a top subject right now. They're going to have to look back and see which claims are going to be occurred over this period in this window of time and what the pricing looks like. But in my opinion, there will be change coming to the benefit industry. What that looks like, I think it's too early to tell. But you touched on the mental health aspect. I know there's been a huge uptick in access to virtual care and mental health support, right? With financial stress and dealing with individuals who unfortunately have been sick or laid off. There's a lot of mental health issues going on right now that aren't new but are being brought to the surface. So certain carriers are teaming up with virtual healthcare providers that are they're making it more accessible to talk to somebody. So again, talking is a big part of it. There's now online apps that have mental health features built in. So it's definitely, I believe people are going to value more of the mental health add-ons or value packs that can be brought to your plan, and it may be embedded in the price eventually, but it's all kind of moving pieces right now.
Right. So there's a lot of innovation, I guess, taking place as well.
Exactly, which again is a benefit of this, because the innovation just makes efficiencies much higher. That when everyone's starting to return to work or back to work, it allows you not to have to stress about doing the paperwork side of it or the smaller headaches and roadblocks, where technology can do that for you.
No, it's great to see. Yeah, and here's another subject that is quite popular is the virtual healthcare. So can you tell us what you're seeing in this space?
Yeah, the virtual healthcare, it has been around for quite a few years, but with the obvious shutdown of businesses and shutdown of doctor clinics and not being able to see people face to face, the growth really accelerated. So there's a number of companies out there that have teamed up with insurance carriers and add reduced cost or value-free ads or a reduced subscription, where the best way to describe it is, if unfortunately you're at home sick and it'd be something like strep throat, I'm able to log into the app with my login, and then they'll virtually connect me with a doctor that is in their database around Canada, and they'll walk me through, for instance, what my issues are and ask me all the questions they need to. And if they have enough evidence that they can give a prescription, they have the power to then send it to your local kind of dispensary or pharmacy, and then they can even ship it to your house.
Wow.
So in a perfect solution, I could be on the couch, and then at my front door would be the medication that I need, all combined into one.
Have you seen a spike in this service offering, like in terms of folks taking advantage of this in the last couple of months?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And, I actually had to use a personal experience. I had a tooth infection that I firsthand experienced, and it was, in my mind, very seamless. There's been a few headaches just because the usage has been up so high that some of the companies are now up to speed. But at first, there was a couple frustrations and the wait time was high. But in the last month, it's been all positive feedback.
Wow, I can see that being a huge convenience too for people, especially when you're self-isolating. You don't want to go to the hospital if you really don't need to, and if you can connect with a doctor and they can provide a prescription remotely, it's pretty incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's another question that we get quite often is, especially as companies evolve, maybe their workforce grows or shrinks, or perhaps they've got different levels of management now. What sort of things should they be looking for when, you talk about their plan on a yearly or, twice a year basis?
Yeah, I'd say the most common times that people reach out out of the blue, or can you review my plan, is it normally does come down to when their renewal is. And that's strictly because that's when they get the slap in the face of, okay, why is this going up? It wasn't explained to me properly. What was this number? I don't understand what I'm paying for. So I'd say that's the most common, is at your annual renewal. But another common time is just when the service level isn't high, right? So if you reach out to your broker a few times because maybe a claim has been submitted, or you're adding another division, or you want to take a review on it. So to kind of summarize it, you can review it whenever you want. A lot of people think that you're locked in to your contract, but that's not true. There's always many options that you can have. So again, with our clients, it's figuring out what their need is, and is it just price, is it cost structure, allocated to sustainability, or what is their kind of their frustration. And a lot of the time it comes down to just a misunderstanding of they're not sure, they think they're getting kind of ripped off and they don't understand what the plan is entailing, or they just say, okay, well, if I have this budget, can you design something for me with this outcome?
Right. No, it makes a lot of sense. Are there any triggers or indicators that folks can look at throughout the year to manage the usage and say, hey, listen, I noticed that no one is using this part of the plan, but the other part of the plan is being overused. Are there mechanisms in place where people can monitor?
Yeah, that'd be reaching out to your broker, right? Again, depending on how you set up, you do have online access to your claims if you have an HR support system. But that's the power of our response, or power of having a consulting and a broker is us keeping the kind of our finger on the pulse. So that way, it's not the what ifs along the way. You can focus on your core business needs, and if you have that quarterly review, then that's going to be brought up when I'm running all the numbers behind the scenes and doing that, and then we can have a high level discussion of what to implement, and it won't won't take too much time of your day.
Right. So at the end of the day, if my premium were to double and I didn't learn about this throughout the year, it's probably a sign that the broker wasn't monitoring, and you should probably get some kind of update if things are vastly exceeding the benefit package.
Exactly. And again, with the finger on the pulse, is a good consulting firms will just reach out quarterly regardless of just checking the temperature, checking in, and continue to build that relationship so your plans instilled in the right person.
Good to know. Yeah, in terms of sustainability, I know with COVID, everyone's looking at areas where they can cut or trim or enhance or, ensure that the future looks bright. What are some of the things that, people can do to make the plan sustainable?
Yeah, well, you've kind of already reached on touch on a little bit is again, it's that constant communication of how your plan is performing, right? So the part of the strategy, and it leads into design as well, is you want to figure out what the plan wants to represent, what type of culture in your business, what kind of coverage you're looking for. And that combines a strategy of keeping the finger on the pulse and benchmarking what's out there, having a good design. So if there are high drug claims, what does that mean in my plan? How is it mitigated? How can I reduce it? And continue that type of kind of feel and touch of the plan.
Do you find, I'm just curious, if you take on a new client, oftentimes they're not quite sure what, the driving force will be behind the plan, what the most popular items will be. But do you find that first year is the most critical in figuring out, what staff and employees are using, and then monitoring and adjusting? And then after you kind of got the formula set, things can be on cruise control, so to speak?
No, I feel like it's important to look at every year, especially there's the way the workforce is changing so quickly with demographics of age, expansion of different business operations, and again, different product offerings. And it's absolutely, I'd say in the first year, if you definitely want to educate the most as far as helping out the plan administrator and handing out the drug cards and unloading a group at first, say there's 100 people, right? It's going to take a lot more time than next year because maybe they only add on 5 a year. But you always want to have that continued relationship and conversation with it. And that's part of, of just the growing business side of it.
Right. In terms of change, oftentimes, and I know you touched on this earlier, people feel as though they're locked in and, there's not a lot of wiggle room to go right or left. Can you talk about plan customizations, what employers can do to alter things? I know with COVID, maybe they want more access to telehealth. Maybe there's a carrier that has a better program in place. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think the number one hesitation to change is a way our psychology of our mind works, right? Positive change or negative change, it kind of gives the reaction like, okay, changes may not be good, but actually there's so many positives about it. So the plan design, if you're looking at to add telehealth, or there's gonna be situations where maybe there is a cost reduction that you can only afford XYZ in the plan, but you still want to get the best out of it. So it's sitting down with that client going, okay, let's run numbers and make sure that you have the core package, that your employees are protected, and maybe there's some things we can take out. Or on the other side, there's some things to add in. So there's going to be a lot of plan design within changes, I believe, in the next year, 2 year. And not just due to COVID, but due to new products out there, right? Like, again, adding on technology, you're adding on different options of flexible benefits, healthcare spending account. So that's why it's great. Even if you don't, implement the change, at least you're aware of what's out there. I think it's a big part too. When I sit down and renew plans with my clients, is a portion of what they have and some recommendations, but there's a big focus on what the marketplace now looks like.
Right.
So this is the change, and this is what they're talking about. These are the benefit trends going forward. These are some projections, just so you're educating the client, because education piece is so important to you looking at that final number going, okay, like that number, it makes sense because I know what I have. There's a lot of disconnect between, the premium dollars allocated to what your plan actually covers.
Right. And I'm curious too, when people are looking at different job opportunities, oftentimes they look at the benefit plan and say, okay, what does this mean? Let's compare, company A versus company B. Like, do you find that's a significant decision maker for a lot of individuals?
Absolutely. And we even take it a step further where, you probably see a lot of job applications where it says, we provide benefits, or, benefits after 3 months. But we almost encourage employers to go, let's sit down, let's do it like a high level, 1 page or paragraph, because, there's 2 organizations, they both offer benefits, but yours may be way better, but, the applicant wouldn't know the difference because you're not articulating on what you have. So
Right.
the power of leveraging, your benefits is very, very, very strong. So again, we always recommend if you are posting your job ads, just take that extra second and reach out, and we can do a small blurb that you can use for all the ones moving forward.
Right. Yeah, I even see it on Tim Hortons drive-throughs, McDonald's drive-throughs, where they're offering benefits, and it is obviously a perk, right? Especially for some of the folks getting into the workforce. But I imagine for seasoned veterans, that's a significant piece too. You don't want to be downgrading your benefits, simply by taking on a different role in a different company.
Exactly. Transparency on it is a huge factor.
You talk to us about Westbrook and some of the specifics that you guys tell your clients.
Yeah, so with our clients, it's back down to the fact that it's always being that extended service of your organization. Dealing with business owners is one of my favorite passions, and one of the reasons why it drew me to the insurance side. It's sitting down, having the reviews, understanding why and what goals they want to have and objections from this benefit plan, and just kind of educating them to say, okay, these are the differences. This is what you should look for. There's meetings that we walk away from, and you give so much information that technically they could just take the information and go somewhere else, but you just have that respect because they know that you're able to provide that on an annual basis. So we just always want to, ensure that we are the most innovative, we're up to date, we're there for the clients every step of the way. Whether it's, whatever stream of business or factor you're in with us on the HR, recruitment, health and safety, or benefits, we keep that structure across the board. So a lot of the times on the benefit side is it just getting to know that client, and you kind of get a good idea of what they want and what they need.
Right. Do you guys work across industries, all industries, or do you guys specialize?
No, we specialize. The specialization that I factor in is really there's many group providers out there that do multiple lines of business. My day-to-day is employee benefits, and that's what I embed myself in, and that kind of relates to the CEBS accreditation and whatnot. As far as our clientele base, we're looking at the very wide range. There really isn't an industry that we don't touch in. And just being in Niagara, we have obviously lots of hospitality, but manufacturing is a strong factor of it. We have construction. Again, the list goes on. And it's great that we're also spread out across Ontario.
Right. And lastly, if folks are looking to reach out to you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you to ask you questions?
Yeah, well, directly, again, I know we're going to have, there's my email there, which is perfect. Our website at www.westridgehr.com has our full service offering. Connecting on LinkedIn and just reaching out if anyone wants to just have a quick update about what different savings are with carriers right now, what the industry is looking like, a quick Zoom. It's definitely a great time to kind of focus on those needs, especially with the reopening of benefits. So the next phase that we've already been involved in is now bringing employees back. So what's that look like? How was the smoothest transaction? Can we get them up and going? Time frames. So there's lots of different subjects depending on where your business is structured, right? And then the phases of opening. So it's always worth a quick call, and depending on how much information you need, it can be short and to the point, or it can be, detailed and continued over to weeks and months to come.
Right. Well, Kyle, thank you for joining us. As always, you've got so much insight and experience in this space, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate talking to Jim, and we look forward to having a coffee in the near future.
All right. Take care.
All right.